And we're finally back. God. That was an ordeal and a half. So I was trying to tell Windows, hey, I want you to schedule this update for later so that I don't have to deal with it right now. But unfortunately, where you would expect the button to be that would say something along the lines of, yes, I want to schedule this for later, instead is a button that says restart now. And once you've clicked it, you're committed. And unfortunately, this particular update, not only was it huge, but as you guys are well aware, it took effing forever. On the bright side, I moved my monitors while I was waiting. On the downside, that was like a 25-minute freaking update. I try so hard to like Windows 10. It does so many things right. The couple things it does wrong, it does really wrong. The rage is real. On the bright side, we're back in time. I don't think we actually get qualifying. Nope, we get 3 minutes of qualifying, so I don't even think that's enough time to actually set a lap. Because I need to make some changes to have this align. No, I didn't get my... So all of my changes I made to my setup are gone. I think I remember about what I did. I hope that's what I did. If not, it's going to be at least close, but that might not be good enough. But either way, I know for a fact there's no way I'm going to have time to actually set a qualifying lap. So that sucks. Holy crap, Broadmeadow did a 158. Are you serious? Holy crap, is he ever fast. 58. Just how? My best is a 203 for comparison. That's 5 seconds faster than I have ever gone around this track in this car. That's ridiculous. Oh, we might actually get around in time to set a qualifying lap. Unfortunately, we literally get one shot at it. I mean, worst comes to worst, we just have to try and make our way through the field a little bit, but that is not very easy to do. Hey, monkey. Yeah, see, that's exactly right before Windows decided to make me want to murder it. I was 100% right about that corner. That there was supposed to be a 400-meter board and somebody took it out. So I actually break it 300, foot board. But that makes me feel a lot better about that corner that I felt like I was doing something very wrong on. It was not me, I just didn't recognize that one of the boards was missing. So I guess technically it was me, but not in the way that I thought it was, that I was messing something up. I guess on the bright side, everything still works after the Windows update. Just, man. Okay, there's no way I'm going to be able to look at that until... Well, I guess in warm-up I'll be able to. It'll be a 10-minute warm-up session. So I really have to make this qualifying lap count. Which means it does not necessarily have to be my fastest. It just needs to be valid. Luckily there's nobody behind me. I don't have to worry about that. I just have to do what I do. I really do need this qualifying account though. Because judging from practice times, I should be right around 10th. Whereas right now I'm obviously 17th. No qualifying. So that's effectively 7 cars I would have to try and make my way around during the race that I otherwise would not have to do. The unfortunate thing is, in terms of fuel and setup, this setup is actually made for doing about 4 laps in a row, hot laps, 5 laps total. This first hot lap is usually not the fastest one that I can do with the setup. It was really bad last corner. 2:04.6. It's literally that's 5/10ths slower than I can do on this setup. Oh, that's so disappointing. That's an actual kid show. That's funny. Whew. That hurt the nose. Oh, man. Starting all the way back in 13th. Not ideal at all. We'll do what we can with it though. Right now we have to keep ourselves warmed up now. Because I basically lost 25 minutes. That silly update. For a second there I thought pit lane was closed. I freaked out and slammed the brakes. Okay, so the fuel strategy I ended up going with was 1 stop. I couldn't remember what I actually did. So basically my plan is to take these tires as far as they will go. Basically a full 60 minutes on these tires, and slap on a new set of softs and go to the end. Oh, there's so much more rubber on track. Also, I will make sure to post the Live Racers link for you guys in a minute. So if you want to, you can watch that at the same time. It's really neat to have all of that information there. I mean, most of that information is also on here, but it's also neat to be able to view it that way. If you so desire. Got enough time to do about 2 hot laps. Obviously, we do not want to do that at all. As you can see, my front left just tore that front left to pieces, sliding through that corner like that. Instantly down to 96%. It is kind of disappointing that the series is continuing to lose people. Like the first race I did, we had like 24, then it went to 19, now it's down to 17. I don't know if there's just a bunch of people who are only in it if they had a chance to win or what. But it's definitely disappointing to lose people. That poor guy. Unfortunately, that means he's probably done 0 practice. Unless he's just done a ton of mileage around this track previously. There should be Huar behind me. Should be very fast. Also in the Viper. But he's always racing with Broadmeadow for the wins. He's definitely not somebody I expect to actually be around in the race. Well, that's better than my qualifying lap was. By 6/10. Actually, almost 7/10. Bad habit of braking too early for a couple of these entry corners. I still have a hard time judging that hairpin. Get through that sequence well, it feels really good. I'm not on the edge or anything. What are you talking about? I've got full control of the car at all times. Oh. Huar behind me was probably like, saw that coming. Oh. I mean, again, 18 still isn't that bad. By any means. Here, let me get that Live Racers link for you guys. Right here. A jam. So if any of you are interested, there is the light race. Actually, what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a moobot command for that real quick. Alright, so now you should be able to do... Aha, cool. So I'll try to keep that updated for whenever the servers change. But yeah, it's a really nice view for you guys to be able to have, particularly with the track in the actual top right. And one of the coolest things is when you're on a hot lap, as Broadmeadow just was, it shows that little fireball behind you, which is such a cool little graphic. But it's a very nice site. It does a lot of things very right. And again, a lot of that information is already on screen in various places, but it's nice to have a secondary place to see that. It's been an interesting race, though. Wow, so even though he downloaded the most up-to-date version of this track not too long ago, he immediately drops out with a 2045. So evidently Dylan has done a lot of practice on this track, or has done a lot of running or whatnot. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's gonna be an interesting one, that is for sure. Should be a fun one. Also, it'd be interesting to see how my eyes do today and basically the rest of the week. I'm going to leave my monitors where they're at now. It's also kind of nice because you guys get to see more of the wheel. It still can't quite see as much as I would prefer, but you guys can definitely see more of it than you could before, which is nice. When it transitions there, it looks funny. Alright. We have a very long first stint in front of us. And there is a formation lap. And then we all form up. And do our best. My goal for this race would be a top 10, but I would be happy with wherever I finish, honestly. Because it's a track that a lot of other people know better than I know it. I need to be careful on this formation lap that I don't burn off too much gas. But they tend to take this formation lap super slow anyway. So you really don't get any core heat in the tire, you don't get any core heat in anything. Yeah, Donadell's livery, yeah, it's very much a, I mean, it's literally just the Konica Minolta Coyote Corvette Daytona prototype livery applied to a C7R. I mean, it's well done, but that's just, if you like the way that livery looks, then you would like the Corvette Daytona prototype version of it also, which you will be able to see this Saturday, the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship Series. Should be a glorious race. I'm so looking forward to that. The annoying thing is I'm going to have to be doing a bunch of editing and uploading while it's going on. So if they're not showing it online, I'm just going to have to catch up after the fact. But hopefully they're showing it at IMSA.tv. Sorry, Jerf. That, silly Moobot thought that was a link. Luckily, you're only timed out for a very short time. But yeah, IMSA.com should have it. And don't bother trying to spell it out, because Moobot will do that also. I should really whitelist IMSA.com to Moobot. But that's okay. Burned a bit more fuel than I would have liked. Nothing super detrimental. Come on. Gotta get all the way up to yours so I can get to mine. Boop. I'm guessing it will... I feel like we're all closer together than we're supposed to be. Maybe the starting spots really are that close here. Well, I got a really good start, but a bunch of people in front of me just didn't go. Oh, man. Let's take it nice and safe. Did I get a run out of that corner? Oh, that was a really good pass. I mean, I had no idea how my car was going to brake with that extra speed. That was still a really well executed maneuver. Maneuver. I'm taking my brake points a little careful, and my apex is a little bit more careful than I normally would. Because I mean, I have to do an hour on these tires to make this work, so I need to not really push all that hard. Yes, that is my name. Hey, Sar. And also, hi, Monja. mean, realistically, whichever of the two you guys are most comfortable with, it doesn't matter to me. As long as you're not calling me something mean, then I don't really care what you call me. Within reason, obviously. Just trying to be mostly smooth and consistent right now. And taking the opportunities when they arise. In that first corner in particular, it's actually really hard to hang on the inside. And that hairpin there, as long as you get to the apex first, it's really hard for the car behind to do anything, even if they're faster through the center of that corner than you are. Which most of these guys will likely be faster than me through the center of that corner. Just a combination of my setup, my strategy, all that sort of stuff. Now the other thing to take into consideration is that some of these guys might be on mediums instead of softs. But again, the tire where you get around here, I would honestly assume everybody is on softs. There's no real reason not to be. Because your tires just don't wear around here hardly at all. Unless you really, really start sliding the rear or sliding the front. Then they'll wear pretty quickly. Captain's in first. Nicely done. That means he overtook Broadmeadow and Poirot. We're just gonna have to be really careful with that corner the entire race. More or less. Not a bad lap. I mean, considering I'm not pushing 1,000% like I did in warm-up, that's not a bad lap at all. Oh, I had to really, really get on the clampers there. Boy, did I ever. I seem to exit these corners really nicely. Take that break nice and easy. Again, I don't know. I haven't followed Steve Jones in practice or qualifying, so I don't know his break point there. Instead of trying to make something happen the very first time I get up on him, it's easier to just sort of use my pace around him for a little bit first. Where we can catch him, if anywhere. Now we got Bartolai behind us. He seems to have quite a lot of pace. The big thing I need to be careful of more than anything is my entries, really. Because my car is stable enough on exits. It's really the entries that are going to catch me out of anything. You can see just how much you can gain in that last corner if you get it right. Holy cow. Make sure I left room in case he decided to slide it in there on the outside. Again, it is well worth considering that some of these guys might actually have more pace than me, that they might be on mediums and they might not be taking tires on their stop. So it's sort of, as much as I want to not push, I actually need to push during this phase, because I'm going to lose an extra 20 some odd seconds in my pit stop compared to theirs. That I need to be very cognizant of. That was really close. I slid all the way through the entry of that corner. Still braking a teensy bit too early for that corner. But I'd rather brake a little bit too early than too late for a lot of these corners. It's too late just is disastrous. Again, particularly because I need the car to turn in really, really well. To really have it do what I need it to. To avoid doing exactly that. That will take a ton of wear out of my left side. Oh! That's almost exactly what I can't afford to do. In qualifying you can get away with it because it is faster to slide through part of that corner. But in the race itself it's too detrimental to your tires to make up for the speed. Tough race no matter what. On the bright side, I seem to get through that first sequence of corners really well. I need to start being careful with that. That's going to bite me way too hard if I start being that aggressive. A little bit better through there that time. You really have to be careful on the exit of that corner in particular, because the curve is relatively high and really, it's basically shaped like a half cylinder, and it will really pull your car in on top of it instead of letting your car roll over it. You have to be very careful. One of the few chances you get to actually take a drink around here. Slip front left a little bit again. I just need to relax. I got a few overtakes done and I got really excited. I need to settle back into my pace, my braking and acceleration zones. Get back to driving safe and clean. Just letting the speed come from that instead of trying to push it everywhere. It's difficult though when you feel like you're in a rhythm and you feel like you've got a little extra going. It's hard to sort of stop yourself and move back and remember the long term. I even broke earlier that time and still almost didn't get down in time. I definitely need to stop hitting 6th gear for a couple of these though. The extra downshift is costing me a little bit in engine braking. But that corner, that curve there, is what I was talking about earlier, that's very rounded. my tire percentage. If I'm gonna do that, I need to be closer to the center of the track. There, that's the braking I want for that corner. That was beautiful. Like I said, I just need to move my points back a tiny bit. It's gonna hurt my speed, but it's gonna drastically improve my consistency and my tire wear. Again, I need these to go an entire fuel load. So I need to definitely be nice to these tires so that they are not being terrible to me at the end of their life. Which they are more than capable of doing. Unfortunately, I'm not pulling away from Jones. I got by him, but the gap has been very steadily at 3 seconds since that time. Again, I'm just going to have to turn that hairpin into a safe corner. Well, it's not as slow as I thought it would be doing that. I think it's one of those corners where it feels like you lose more time than you actually do when you take it a little bit safer. I still do love this circuit though. That was much better through there. As nice as it is to be able to do, you actually want to avoid clipping the back of any of those curves there. So there's a really high chance, once the tire lands on the opposite side of it, it has a really good chance of sort of ripping the tire up, in a sense. Now, I haven't done all that much testing in RFactor to know if it actually does that. I just know in real life you rarely want to get your tire on the opposite side of the curve. I mean, for obvious reasons, it's very sharp up and down on the opposite side, so they don't really care. And generally, they don't care as much about how that side of the curve affects the tire, because you're not supposed to use that much of those curves. Hardly ever. A little extra speed through there. It's safer than trying to hit the brake just to let it run wide. God. Right when I get down to second and first, it's almost like there's a transition in that corner and all of a sudden the grip goes away. Right at the bottom end of the braking zone. Such an awkward corner to brake for. Makes it so much trickier than you would expect it to be. Also not that far into the race yet either. Unfortunately. It's way too much of that curve. All the area behind that curve is so sketchy. Oh, what happened to Steve? He's not even on the list anymore. Well, that's not good. His race. Now we'll see if I can keep Bartolai back there. Both Bartolai and Donar are usually very quick. Obviously still concentrating forward as much as we can. I have a tendency, really for about 3/4 of the race, I have a tendency to be watching time gaps and tire wear numbers more than I'm actually watching what I'm doing on track, which tends to create quite a lot of issues, or potential issues. Just one of those weird situations where already at this point in the race, I'm sort of running on about 90% just muscle memory. Just having to exert almost no brain power. So sort of those other things help occupy my mind to keep me in the race. Otherwise my mind just gets bored and I start thinking, well, I need to do some editing for this race, and since it's in 2 chunks, I'll probably have a screen in between the 2. So I'll need to do X, Y, or Z. I can edit the screen this way to make it a little funny, this way to make it a little serious. I'll want the edit to be about 2 seconds long. Like, that's the sort of stuff I have to prevent my mind from doing. And just be like, hey, you're in a league race, you should probably be paying a little more attention to it. Yay, brains. My laps are very consistent right now, which is good. Actually, very good. Now, if my pace keeps up, if everybody's pace stays about where it is right now, unfortunately, it looks like I've almost found a little sort of gap for myself. Because I'm a tiny bit faster than all the guys behind, and considerably slower than all the guys ahead. So unfortunately, a lot of this race might be me just doing laps. At the same time, for a 6th place finish, potentially, that would not be too bad. I'd be perfectly happy with that. That being said, I'm pretty positive now that Bartolai is not behind Jones. He will probably start picking up pace. Because when he was behind me, he was going very, very quickly. Too much curve. And I hate when the sun goes behind the clouds. It just messes with my vision just that extra little bit. Making it a little bit more annoying. Sliding through the entry of that corner a little bit more than I'd like to. Woo-hoo. If you get in that grass, it's really hard to keep the car on point. Really hard. It might seem silly because it's the tiniest little bit of grass, but it takes away just enough grip in just the wrong time to give you a really high chance to hit that wall. It's actually a pretty dangerous little strip of grass. I still think I'm actually hitting the dirt there. In the next few laps, I might try not using that curve at all. See what happens with that hairpin. I wonder if that'll make the car more stable there. I feel like I just have to do something. Because when I try and turn into the corner, the car's really, really not having it. Bartolai is definitely catching me now. He is has gotten back on his pace now that he's got clean air and clean track. I kind of just have to hope he doesn't pull Venter and Bonar with him. I know they all three usually have quite a bit of pace. It's really hard to tell where those guys are actually quicker, and what sector. I feel like I'm beating almost everybody, at least the guys behind me, through those first 3 corners. And I think this middle sector, I lose quite a bit. Oh, that does make the car much happier. Alright, I'm going to completely avoid that curve now. The car was so much easier to control in that situation. Slide there. And it's so funny, those little slides like that, you guys are probably like, that didn't look any different. But to me, all of a sudden, all of the feeling goes out of my wheel and I'm like, oh god, the tires aren't gripping. And all of a sudden I get really scared. That sequence of 3 corners, then right, left, right, I'm taking purposefully very carefully. Oh, Jones got back in the 10th at least. I almost wonder if he spun somehow. That's how I want to take that corner every time. I've only gotten that corner that right twice so far. Man, it feels good when you get it that right. It really does. Similar to that first corner. You get it just right, it feels fantastic. Flex's favorite word. Fantastic. Oh, yellow flag. Looks like Lang had a mistake of some kind. Dropped to 20 seconds, basically. It's nice when you can learn something that's inside the race that helps. It's just kind of unfortunate that it's like, well, if I had figured that out about that corner before I did qualifying, I might have been able to qualify even higher up. Or I might have been able to even find that little bit extra somewhere else that would have made that extra difference. That would have been struggling with that corner. But on the bright side, at least I did find it now. Instead of never finding it. Front left is starting to be a little bit not optimal now. So I'm going to have to keep that in mind through some of these corners. But that tire might start to push from the front left. Yeah, 87%. We're almost a third of the way through though. Which would effectively take us halfway through our fuel stint. Speaking of which, I actually want to check my fuel strategy real quick. Okay, yeah. So I'm putting 50 liters. That's what I thought. I want to make sure. Because right now I have a little over 30 minutes left of fuel. make sure that I'm putting in more than that at the stop. And if I make a mistake in that first 3 corners, it's actually more detrimental to me, because that's where I'm making up time on everybody else. So I sort of need those corners to be as clean as possible every single lap. Really make the most of that whole sector. I missed my brake and turn input for that corner. It's real tough to pull it back. Oh, Venter and Barthelai are actually in a battle there. Basically, the more those guys behind me battle, the better it is for me, because the more... That means there's a higher chance that they're wearing out their tires, they're wearing out their brakes. Just that little bit. Because again, the brakes in these don't hardly wear out, but every teensy tiny bit matters. They lose 2 extra millimeters more than I do. That's 2 millimeters less that the brake pad has to travel for my car to get to the brake disc than it does on their cars. Every little bit has the potential to matter. But most importantly, there's a higher chance that they're wearing out their tires, actually battling with one another, having to lean on the tire a lot more. That being said, it looks like Venter has definitely gotten past Barthelai now. Oh, and he's gaining on me even through that section. Oh, man. I feel like he's going to catch up to me sooner rather than later. We'll see. As always, we will stay in it. We will try our darndest. Do everything we can. Alright, we're 30 minutes through. Effectively 1/3 of the way through the race. Tires still feel good. We still have about 15% off, so we can expect about another 15% gone by the time we pit. Which will put us at, what, 60%? No, 70%. Right at 70%. At 70%, that's going to be a perfectly acceptable tire. To almost perfectly pull off the car and go. If we continue to see that 15% tire wear, that's perfect. It's right on target. And even so, if we continue to take that corner correctly, then we have a pretty good chance to actually see better tire wear through the second 30 minutes than what we got in the first 30. Because I slid through that corner like twice. 2:02.8? Alright, that's a hell of a lap from me. I'll take that. I also have to start considering the fact that as the fuel burns off, the car gets lighter. It will get a little bit trickier to drive almost everywhere for me. Both my setup and this car do not like low fuel situations. Oh, Venter is really pushing now. I'm gonna try and keep as smooth as we can. 4/10 down, not really 2. As the rubber comes in, it actually gets harder to spot that third, or the second right-hander, the third corner in that sequence. Because it gets more and more covered with black, so it's harder to see the actual apex of that corner before the race goes on. It's actually pretty dangerous to drink on that front straightaway because of the different, because of all the immense bumps on the straights here at Sebring. I really like being able to shift right over that curve. Surprisingly, it actually settles the car down. I feel like Venter is actually faster than me those first 3 corners. So he either found something or he just wasn't able to use his speed when he was stuck behind the other guys. Or bit of column A, bit of column B is always a possibility. Again, just as I'm discovering things about a couple of these corners throughout the race, there's every possibility that other guys are also. And the road surface is almost constantly changing with how much more rubber is on track. Like, this is far and away the most rubber that has been on track since I started practicing this race a while ago. So everybody's basically got more grip than they're used to in a couple key places. But at the same time, it makes your sights for sighting in some of the corners quite different than you'd expect them to be. Trying to be real careful to not slide my fronts or rears in that last corner. Hey, Paradox. Basically just trying to be as consistent and safe as possible here. Save that tire as much as we can so that once we get to about 2 laps before our pit stop, then we can really push when we know we're not going to need the tires. And then we don't really have to care about sliding them. We still have to care about being safe, obviously, and not throwing the car off, but we can push out of the corners a bit more in the situation and into the corners a bit more without really caring about small slides. Yeah, Venter gets through the hairpin much better than I do. I'm still finding pace over myself somehow though. He's just obviously finding even more. Or had even more to begin with, one or the other. Like I said, I think he will get us at some point. I think there's just not much I can do. He also seems really quick on the straights. But he also seems to be able to get me in that first sector, which is where I tend to be beating everybody else. Thanks. Oh, in sectors 1 and 2, interesting. So I guess he's not faster in a straight line then. Oh, that's gonna cost me. That might cost me that position. That's so much time lost. I was like 4/10 up too. I blew the last corner so badly. yeah, if I'm beating him in Sector 3, that means he definitely has more downforce on at the rear. Although it is also a Ferrari. Sort of expect the Ferrari to be very, very good in the corners, and not quite as good in the straight line. Similar to the Porsche. That would also help explain why he's so much better here. If he has more downforce on, he's able to brake there. I feel a little bit bad there. I broke at my normal point and got so much more efficiency out of it. Than I'm used to. So I was just going way slower than I would expect it to be. And if he had pulled out to the side, he easily would have taken me there. Because I was going way too slow well before the corner. Oddly enough, right here I would expect his downforce to help him a ton. But he doesn't seem to exit this corner all that much faster than I did. Which is very surprising. Also, I wonder if Lang has damage. Because ever since he dropped 20 some odd seconds to Van Hoek, he just hasn't had the same pace that he had. I mean, these 202s are fantastic, though. I mean, again, these are, as funny as it may seem, these are literally the fastest laps I've done on this track in this car. Oh, a bit deep there. That was close. It was close to being very bad. Whew. Our tire wear looks good, though. Tire wear looks very good. One of these laps he's going to be close enough and he's going to pop out there. Because he already knows from a couple times that he is much better than me under braking on that corner. So all he has to do is set up one time where he can get alongside me into the braking zone. Considering how much better he is under braking than me there, he doesn't even have to be all that close. But I can sort of tell with the way he's moving his car around, it seems like he's trying to avoid making it a dive bomb. So he sort of wants to make sure he doesn't outbrake himself. At least that's what it looks like. I think the main problem for him is that I'm faster down this straightaway just by a little bit. So he can't really set up anything going into the first sector, where he'd probably really, really like to. It's way too shallow of an entry. He might be able to this time. He's only 1 second back. This might be his chance. Gotta try and make this as clean as possible for ourselves here. I'm not even using all the track there anymore. Just doesn't feel like I need to. Which means probably I can take more speed through that first corner than I am. I'm sort of afraid to test that right now. Only 7/10 back, this might be the lap he tries it. I would not blame him. Nope, still not quite close enough. This is such a good battle, though. It's always interesting when you're faster or slower than somebody else in different sections. I mean, around Sebring, there's so many spots where it's not optimal to pass anyway. It's very possible that if he got ahead of me, he would just soar off into the distance with within a couple laps. At the same time, he might also be biding his time, waiting for the pit stops. That is another option I wasn't thinking of, where he's just sort of conserving a little bit of fuel so he doesn't have to take as much, conserving his tires a little bit. Then he'll just make the run afterwards. That's definitely a possibility. I don't think that's the case. That's always an option. Still not getting the entry quite right. He's always so close coming out of that corner. There, now I'm using all the track again there. Now the other trick is going to be when I put new cold tires on and slap more fuel in it, the car is suddenly going to feel very different. I have to make sure I dial back my brake points, dial back my aggression quite a bit until I get used to it again. But that felt like a much better hairpin that time. And it was. It's so odd, like I'm consistent enough in the first 3 corners there that more or less that hairpin tends to make or break that whole first sector for me. That was close. I took way too much speed into the corner. It's hard to dial back your excitement all of a sudden when you notice you're 7/10 up after one sector. Just dial it back a notch. Control that adrenaline surge and just get on with your doing your lap as best you can. We were up 2 more tenths after the second sector. We'll see if we can make a clean last one. Just trying to get this corner cleanly, not necessarily as quick as possible, but clean tends to be quick for that last corner. We got a really good exit out of it. 201! That's awesome. Oh, Venter took his pit stop. Alright, good. That takes a ton of pressure off from behind. And now I can just get back to... At the same time, that means he's splitting the race in half. So, if he is changing tires, if he was on softs and he's going to softs, then we're in a situation where we will have an advantage at the end. And he's going to try to make an advantage out of his tires right now. So the next 10 minutes or so are going to be pretty important in my race. That was really dirty first sector. I think Matthews is not on the lead lap anymore. Considering I don't see him on my relative on the left-hand side. I might be getting some graining. Tires feel like they have lost quite a bit of grip all of a sudden. And they don't look... No, they look a little overheated. Try and do my best to cool the tires down a little bit. I don't remember sliding them. Oh, the right side's looking okay now. And this right here, if I do have a bunch of graining right now, this might be part of the reason why Venter did the strategy he did. You could avoid the graining phase by just taking the tires off right before they go into it. You could save yourself a lot of time. Because it legitimately just feels like you suddenly lose like 12 to 15% of your overall grip just out of nowhere. That being said, it almost, considering the tires feel better now, I think I just overheated them a bit somehow. No, I'm still way down on time. This is the situation where I wish I had done more long stint testing. But it's hard to commit to doing an hour's worth of laps by yourself, all in a row. It's not the most exciting thing to do. Very, very useful data-wise, not very exciting. We don't have all that long before our pit stops, so I think we can just deal with it. Unfortunately, it means that Venter's strategy, where he's making time over us right now, might pay off, and we're really going to have to look towards the end of the race to really get any of that back. So it might play into his advantage more than ours. I almost wonder if that's what he felt from the tire. That it was about to go through a graining phase or something. Or it could just be a situation where he knew he was going to come in and he was trying to make me use my tires a bit more. Which is definitely a possibility. That was close. It's definitely going to burn some time off. That was real close. Now, unfortunately, RFactor is going to start doing this where I'm low enough on fuel. And I have a scheduled stop set up where it's going to keep telling me to come in every single lap. But I really want this pit stop to be as close to 30 minutes as possible. So I'm really going to cut this as close as I can to the tank being empty. Something significantly different with the tires, though. Now again, Venter is the one we're really looking at back there, 61 seconds. So the bigger we can keep that gap, the better. Doing that doesn't help. I'm just losing so much time per lap now. Bit of a slide there. The car just feels real sloppy now. And it really doesn't feel like worn tire sloppy, it feels just like grading where it's gonna go away. But I have a bad feeling it's gonna go away right as I'm about to pit. strategy. Because you can see just how much time I lose during this section, because you just literally just can't push. The tires don't have the grip they should. Also doesn't help my eyes are betraying me horribly. Two more laps. On the bright side, this is quote-unquote saving me fuel. So I'm using less fuel than I was earlier. The downside, it's costing me time, which is a little bit more important. I guess it's also possible that it might be with the cloud cover. There's been cloud cover for a while over the track now. My car seems to be much happier when the track is bright and sunny. Again, it doesn't look like it, but the car was almost getting sideways there. But we might have made it out to the other side of the grading period. And if we did, that means we actually have 2 laps to push, which is alright. Not ideal. It's alright. I mean, again, it's just one of the weirdest feelings in the world, because you don't change anything at all about how you're driving, but you suddenly lose 1 to 2 seconds per lap over your previous pace, just because the car doesn't pull through the corners like it did before. Makes it such a weird feeling. Alright, we have enough to do 1 more lap. We're gonna risk it. We're gonna risk everything, basically. Tiny graze, didn't actually do any damage. Holy cow, that was scary. Alright, so we need this lap to be quick, but obviously clean. Man, that was scary. I also just realized I didn't have time in warm-up or qualifying or anything to check my pit stall, so I don't know where I actually am. I think I'm pretty early on in the actual pit lane. That was a really ugly first sector. It up a tiny bit here. Gain some of that time back. Ugh. Unfortunately, our gap to Venter has come down. It hasn't come down much, but it has come down. Oh, we lost even more. Oh, that front left doesn't have anywhere near the grip it should anymore. It's just screaming to be taken off the car. Because I feel like I'm using a bit more fuel than I was before, we're going to go a little bit safer on fuel still. We're going to go up to 55 there. Because we're a little further further away from that 30-minute time that I would like. Alright, I'll take the stalls here.
The lap was a 2:10.92.
Oh. It's gonna be an intense finish. And because I'm taking tires, my pit stops are pretty long. And we're mostly looking at our gap to Venter here. So I'm pretty sure Bonar is gonna come out in front of us. Got about 10 seconds. Come on, pit crew, do your best. Yeah, so Bonar is definitely going to clip us here. Venter's going to be so close. Oh, pit speed sucks. The most important thing is we did not get any penalties. Now we have really cold tires. You have to be very careful with. And he's right on our bumper again. His tires are very hot. Mine are very, very cold. And we have more fuel on board than we just did. So we have to suddenly get adjusted to all of that in an instant. On the bright side, my tires at the end of the race will be much, much better condition. There, he's taking his opportunity there. Oh, I got a better drive out, I just can't do anything with it. Oh, that, all right. One-third of the race left. Unfortunately, I really needed to keep him behind me there. I'm pretty sure I am faster than him in a straight line. Just a matter of how much is it? So I really don't think it's much of a difference at all. Now we have Yates right behind us also. Any of these guys on mediums, we will 100% have an advantage over, particularly late in the event. I'll have to be careful. Again, I have so much more fuel on board, so I'm still having to adjust my brake points in my head. My tires should be as hot as they need to be now. So I should be able to just start doing my normal pace. Assuming I can find all the right lines and brake points again. I really need to stop hitting that dirt. Not the worst thing in the world, but it's not great for the tire. Because then the next time I need to lean on that front right, it's just not going to have what it needs to. Bonar really isn't that far up ahead either, considering the pace he had earlier. The three of us might be able to catch him. Letting it roll a little bit too much in preventing me from pulling it back in like I want there.
That was a 202.50.
Now I definitely feel like I can start leaning on the tires. And again, because I'm only doing effectively 1/3 of the race on these tires now instead of 2/3 like earlier, I don't have to care about them as much. Obviously, I still don't want to slide them if I can avoid it. The slides don't matter as much as they did in that first part of the race. We are all bunched up. On the bright side, he's not pulling away from me. I kind of assumed he would just trail off into the distance with the time he had on me in that first sector. It seems like I've either found a little bit or what he had was low fuel and decent tires. Or little column A, little column B. As I said earlier in the race, that is always a possibility. It feels so nice to have good tires again, though. That previous set was not too happy with me by the end of it. Oh, really washed out to the middle there. Cool. We are catching Ponar. But unfortunately, Venter is pulling away from me a little bit each time. Oh, that was a big slide. It didn't end in disaster, though. That's the key point to take from that. Even though it was a slide, it did not end in disaster. It's one of those things where I've slid enough times in that last corner that the majority of the time I can maintain control of it. Again, that mostly comes from just sliding so many times in practice. I'm losing so much in that first sector now. Need to avoid that curve. I'm losing a little bit. Just gotta get back to my driving instead of trying to chase Venter down. Just drive my lines, hit my break points, hit my apexes, and get on with the program. Let the speed come from doing it right instead of trying to chase the speed. Much easier said than done. It's really hard not to chase any sense of speed you get. Just try and push harder and harder, and then start making silly mistakes. That's the last corner I want. So much better for that last corner. Still losing time though. Not a ton, but enough. Oh, so much better there. God, when you get that hairpin right, it feels so good when you get it wrong, it feels so bad. Unless you've never gotten it right, then getting it wrong feels okay. But the first time ever you get that corner just right, you're like, oh, that's how that hairpin is supposed to feel. I am supposed to be able to accelerate out of it. I brake all the way through the middle of it. Bit sideways under braking there. Teensy bit aggressive. Trying to brake really hard, not in a straight line. Not one of my smartest moments. The gaps are so stationary. Blue flags. Is the leader coming up on us? Oh, that's the leader behind me now. Okay, that's Kevin. I guess the straightaway up here is going to be the best place to let him by. Try and do it in a way that sacrifices as little time as possible for me. Good, good, good. The art of doing that is so much harder. Like, I still lost more time than I should have doing that. But the drivers who are able to do that in real life and lose almost no time doing that are exceptional. I can't believe Kevin's lapping all the way up to, effectively he's going to be 6th. He is flying. Oh, real wide there. Trying to carry a little bit too much speed through the first right-hander of that sequence. Now on the bright side, this is giving me a bit more gap back to Yates. On the downside, it's also increased the gap in front of me. But my goal here is effectively to try to hang on as close as I can to Kevin. I'm going to try to utilize when the guys in front have to lift. Man. Wow, that was... Alright, that happened. That's about all I could say about that situation. He was trying his best to stay out of the way, but I was not expecting a car to suddenly be there. Wow, that was a moment and a half. Oh, Venter got around Bonar. It's not good for me. On the bright side, in about 7 minutes, my tire advantage should start to present itself a little bit more. The downside, I'm ruining some of these corners that I need to not be ruining. I think that's second place behind me now. Yeah, it is. gonna have to try and make way for him without losing very much time on him.
That was a 2:03.78.
But at the same time, I think he's gonna get up to me right about the same time I'm catching. Well, no. If I hadn't ruined that corner, would have been. Oh! 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 That was Kevin! That was the race leader! The race lead has changed hands, I think. Holy crap, I'm pretty sure that was Kevin. Oh my word. Oh, that's really unfortunate. That's gonna be a stall. That's just gonna cost me all the time in the world. Well, there goes my race. I had to try to avoid 1 hour. That sucks. Big disadvantage of not using auto clutch. It spins like that. Oh well. I have 15 minutes, I'll see if I can catch back up to Yates at least, but considering the pace similarity we had, I don't think I will. Kevin left? Thought for sure he'd be able to keep going after that. Basically, Bonar's, his white Aston got much more braking efficiency out of that corner than I did. And I just, I made the wrong decision to jot to the left instead of just staying on the brakes. Which made the car just a little bit upset. Again, the most unfortunate thing is I was catching those guys right as the leaders were in the middle of catching us, so it was a really bad combination of events. Because at the same time that you're trying to make way for the leaders to not negatively impact their race, you're also thinking about your own race. Trying to do the best that you can for that. Well, it was Brussels. I made a large mistake that cost me a lot of time. We'll see if we can collect anything back from it. Bjorn. Oh, that's funny. I mean, again, all things considered, I cannot be mad at myself for this event. It's still gone way, way better than I thought it would, and the battles that I have had have been fantastic. It always hurts that little bit right in the soul when you know you could have had a good battle all the way to the end, but you did something wrong to mess it up a bit. I'll also definitely have to take a look at that afterwards and see if I messed up anybody else's race. I hope I didn't. And when I'm stalled like that, my main focus is on trying to get the car out of the way as quick as possible. still have, again, we still have 10 minutes. Considering the pace I had over Bonar, I think I can catch him. I don't know if I'd necessarily pass him, but I'm pretty sure I can catch him. I don't think I can catch Yates. If nothing else, I think I've ripped too much out of my tires to really have any sort of meaningful advantage now over the guys that came in at 45 instead of at 30. Everybody's home. Down on peso myself. I'm down on peso. Down on pace over myself now also. I'm still really also interested to see what will happen with Kevin. Completely missed my turning point. Woohoo! Had to get on those brakes real hard. Oh man. I'm glad I caught that when I did, because that could have been much worse. Oh. Minutes remaining. Bjorn. As I was completely missing my turning point, he was probably sitting there screaming, "Turn, turn, turn, turn!" And if I miss my brake point for that hairpin even slightly, like again, these conditions when the clouds come over, it makes it so hard for me to see. It just makes the double vision so much worse. At least when it's bright, then the difference between the sky's brightness and the track's brightness doesn't do much. When those clouds come over, then the sky is much, much brighter than the pavement and starts creating issues. Well, I mean, again, the rate I'm catching Bonar at, I'm pretty sure I will get him. That's not really a concern. And Yates is just, I mean, every mistake I make, he's not making. And he's in a position where he's chasing down Venter, so I really don't see, outside of them making a mistake, I don't really see myself being able to catch them anyway. So mostly we're just trying to get up to 7th here. Which I think we'll be able to do relatively safely. So I can just get back in a comfortable rhythm. Get back to making less mistakes. And not really having to worry about pushing super hard. The other key is I'm sort of trying to feel out where my tires are at. So my front left is more warm than it should be right now. With all the sliding and craziness that happened. Yeah, this car makes a good noise. The old Dodge V10. Speaking of which, this weekend for the WeatherTech series, there will be at least one of these Dodge Viper GT3s running, the GT3 version. But it sounds just as good on TV as you'd expect it to. That being said, it might be drowned out a bit by that Ford this year. Got between the Ford, the Chevy, and this thing all on the same track. That WeatherTech series is going to sound good this year. I mean, it always sounds good. It's going to sound real good. That corner in particular, it's a little bit harder to get the car to turn out of that than it was before. It's a little tricky to keep it off of the curbing there. No, I don't think the Aston sounds that great. Or it doesn't sound better. I think the Aston sounds good. But I think, particularly that Ford, I think that sounds the best of the cars right now. Well, that being said, I haven't heard the BMW M6 all that much, but considering it's a BMW, probably will sound very similar to the old one. I might not catch one on it. I've lost that bit of extra speed, and he's found a little bit. I mean, again, the fact that my tires are more worn than they should be is not ideal. So I just don't have the grip I should anywhere. First eardrums. First eardrums and moist underwear, I like that. That is a good combination for a car lover. Assuming you have insurance anyway. If you don't have insurance, burst eardrums are not great. We'll have 3 laps probably, considering where the leaders likely are. I'm still surprised Kevin just straight up exited though. That's why I'm super interested to see what will happen. Sideways there. I'm just consistently slower than I should be. Basically everywhere right now. Because again, this point in the fuel run, this point in the tires, where the tires should be, I should be doing some of my best lap times, period. Just losing in some places. Well, I don't know if he necessarily rage quit because I saw him go off for a bit, and then Yates left. What? What is going on? Yeah, I'm actually losing time to Bonar now. Well, that's what I'm thinking with Kevin, that his car might have had too much damage. But when I saw him on the side of the road, it didn't look like he had hit anything. So we'll definitely check the replay. That was sketchy. That is not how that corner is supposed to be taken. Whew. Just released the brake and I still had too much speed going into the corner. The car was like, nope. The car just gave me a big old nope. It's a shame that whole situation happened, though. It would have been interesting to see how that whole race had played out if all that craziness in the first sector hadn't happened. I wish I was the drift king. I can't drift for crap. I can do it on accident. I can't do it on purpose. I think this will be the last lap. So I think the leader is already past start finish. Still not quite sure how I'm losing a full second in that first sector. Doesn't feel like I'm doing anything that different to what I was doing earlier. And I don't think I made contact with anyone or anything, so I'm not sure. Outside of tire wear, which is right in the wheelhouse of where it was when I was setting my fastest laps. I mean, that being said, when I was setting my fastest laps, I didn't feel like I was doing anything different either. I was just happening to go faster every single lap. Oh, Bonar had something happen on that last corner. Oh, did he run out of fuel? Oh, I think he's out of fuel. Oh, I think he ran out of fuel. Oh, man. Well, he flashed his lights at me. Maybe he was actually just giving me a position back for some reason. Because he flashed his lights there, so I'm guessing that means he did that on purpose. Maybe he felt like he caused that problem in the hairpin or something? Which he definitely didn't. I was trying to avoid him. I chose the wrong direction to go. I mean, if that's what he did, that was very, 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 very nice of him. Completely unnecessary, but very, very nice. Holy cow. I'm guessing chat will probably get active once everybody comes in. Yeah, see, it just says DNF. Because Yates here, he obviously hit something. Like, he had damage. But for Kevin, it just says DNF, so he just chose to exit. No, the reason I say that, Brussels, is because I mean he went slow right as I went past. He picked up pace, so he still had go in the car easily. Oh. Oh, that. I think it's transitioning sessions. Although sometimes the thing is. So yeah, that is why he did that, and that is why he flashed his lights. Hopefully he'll still be there when the session transitions. I mean, if worse comes to worse and he jumps out, I can just mention it on the forums. But that is what that felt like. So he must have felt. But again, I mean, oh, the server went down. Interesting. On the bright side, we can look at the replay, because I definitely want to see the replay. Well, I mean, in all honesty, it's a super tough corner to brake on. I messed it up multiple times going in there, braking too early, braking too late. I mean, one time Venter almost hit me because I broke in correctly for it. So it's a super easy place to do that on. And it's 100% understandable. That was exceptionally nice of him to do, though. I mean, not what I expected at all. Actually, I want to watch the start real quick. Did somebody go off on the formation lap? Oh no, that's actually lap 1. Okay, that's actually lap 1. I was like, really? Somebody went off on the formation lap? Oh, I'm so hot. That was such a stressful race. What in the world happened on the left side there? Oh, it just popped him into his grid spot. Okay. I was like, what? I love watching everybody hit their grids. And then you'll see a couple people pop into place because they got it wrong. Particularly the guy behind me was way too close. So you'll see him pop back quite a bit. Brussels, not like that. It's very warm. That was some hard work in the first half of that race. You see us all have to split the Corvette there that got a really poor start. And I was able to take the inside by myself, which gave me a huge jump on a bunch of people. I mean, I got by so many people in these first few corners. It was amazing for my race. But again, with revs, 9 times out of 10. Again, it's one of the nice things also with this race is it definitely confirms that Bathurst was a bit of a fluke. Because this is how nice and clean the first 2 races were, and this is what I expect with these guys, and I mean, they deliver every single time where they're nice, they're friendly, they're more sportsmanlike than even I would expect. But again, the fact that I can go side by side with him in that corner, like that's rare to be able to do, period. So it's always nice when you can find a space for this. Yeah, these first few laps were intense though. I think that was actually Matthews ahead of me at this point. I think Bonar was the one that got a really that got sort of pushed out 3 wide and had to back out in the first couple corners. I mean, I guess I could just look. Oh no, so Matthews was the one that got pushed out a bit in the first few corners. God, that Viper's fun to drive though. It's hard, all of these cars are hard work. Man, that's a fun track. So was that Venter that got turned around there? It was. Holy cow. So where was he going into this section? He was up in 5th. He was all the way up in 5th and turned it around on the first lap in this corner. Oh, he actually had damage. And you just have to wait so long to turn it around safely. Okay, that happened. We have to take a look at that in a second. That's the Konica Minolta machine. Sando. I don't think Sando got very much practice in. Oh, just gets on there. Oh, almost saves it. Oh, can't quite fully save it. It's a super easy corner to do that on. I mean, more or less, that corner and the last corner are sort of what I personally set my car up for. Because I knew those would be my big trouble spots. I got a hell of a run out of this last corner the first time. I couldn't quite use all of it though. Because on the exit, every single car pushes real wide. You can't do much about it right here. The car just starts pushing from that point on. But I had a hell of a run. And I had to back out ever so slightly. Because I just wanted to make sure that we all had room. He stayed way to the inside, which really caused his center of the corner there to be compromised. I think something happened to Steve Jones at some point too. By the way, this first part of the race is really where I made up a ton of time. I did not win. Because when my car is heavy is when I tend to be at my best, oddly enough. That tends to be when I can get more out of the car than most other people can. Well, than most of the people seem to, at least that's when I tend to get more out of the car than the people I'm generally racing against, I guess I should say. So the people that I tend to be around in the different races, the people I tend to have similar pace to, I seem to be better on high fuel than those guys. But at the same time, most of those guys are better on low fuel than I am. So I really have to try to make as much hay as I can while I've got that high fuel in. Yeah, Sebring is probably very scary. Although some of these barriers are not there in real life, or they're at least moved very far back. Oh, this was the one I was thinking of. This is when I got a heck of a run, but had to lift. I mean, because right there. I want to see how close I came to his actual bumper. Because it had to be close. Alright, so there's hood view. No, not quite. There's hood view. I mean, you can watch the run that I get coming out of this corner. Because he goes real wide, I get on the power perfectly. I'm full on it, and I'm just like, I'm gonna hit him. You'll be able to see here. I lifted just a bit. To make sure I don't hit him. By the way, this is how I prefer to take the inside line here. Well, and that's the other things are. I wanted to make sure, particularly when you're doing online racing, it's better to leave a little bit of space rather than no space. Because in real life racing, you probably could just stay in it there because you can feel the momentum, you can feel what the car is doing, and you can see much more clear where that other car is going to be. Whereas here, you never know. All of a sudden, oh, it may knock you both a little bit differently than you were. But this right here, this is how I prefer to take this corner when I'm on the inside. I'll actually keep it mostly in a straight line. Now, this car, what this car wants to do is turn in right here, and where this car wants to be is right about here. But when I'm on the inside and I take that option away, what I can effectively do is take that space away so they don't have the option. They have to run a little bit wider, and then I get my optimal corner out of it. Now, I don't think he was really in a position with his car that he really wanted to defend that super hard, which is why I think that went the way it did. But if that person on the outside wants to, they still have more than enough space to keep it real wide out there and push hard. I think this is where the main middle stint happened. I think this is where I was pulling away from these guys. Yeah, so this is just a bunch of laps of me by myself, more or less. While Venter starts to hunt me down and continues to hunt me down. Then he eventually pits, which should be somewhere around here. Yeah, and then I have a few laps by myself. I come into the pits. Somewhere, should be close to here. Yeah, then I came out of the pits right behind him. I was so close to holding on to this position. So close to it. Now, I don't technically know where the pit lane entry ends, so that's why I took a real wide line there. But here, my tires are freezing cold. I had to push so hard. I was like, please, car, please do what I want. And it almost did what I wanted, but not quite. And he was able to get me, because again, he had followed me enough that he knew I was bad under braking, and especially when I'm coming out of the pits with cold tires, he knew I was going to have to be really safe on my braking, so he just pops out right here and clips me. He doesn't clip me, doesn't hit me or anything, but he just easily gets me under braking. I did try and fight back here, but I just didn't quite have enough of a run. Oh, we did actually make a little bit of contact there. It didn't feel like we did, but... And from his screen, it probably looked like he had cleared me. From my screen, it looked like he had cleared me. I made a long run, me trying to chase him down. And then at one point, all craziness breaks loose. I think I might have already passed it. Yeah, I did. So it's coming up here. Yeah, so there's where Kevin went off. I'm gonna look at that in a minute. But I want to see what happened to myself first. I got back around Venter? Oh, I thought that was Kevin that came back on. So Venter had an issue also. Oh, I wonder if he and Kevin came together. And then here, this is where Bonar, I mean, you can watch here. He just gets so much more efficiency out of his brakes. Because where does he brake? He starts braking right about there, which is almost the same point I did. And he just completely, I mean, watch the extra efficiency he gets. I'm as hard as I can on them. His car is just slowing down so much better. So right here, I choose to try to point towards the left, and I think I just clipped that dirt. And it just starts to rotate, and I can't do anything at that point. So he totally did not cause that. There is absolutely no reason for him to have given that position back. It's very nice that he did, but he definitely did not need to. Now this is what I want to be sure of. I don't think I caused any issues here, but I might have, because I rip it around right here. That's really bad of me. I'll have to apologize to him big time. I think he was a lap down, so it's not the worst thing in the world, but that's still 100% on me. I shouldn't have done that. I should have waited. I feel bad about that. Again, not the worst thing in the world by any means, but still well worth apologizing for. And then I'll make sure I let Bonar know that that was 100% not his fault either. Oh, did he go wide there? Oh, he did go wide there. So he was probably not carrying as much speed into the hairpin. Yeah, that hairpin. I mean, I was flustered because I was trying my hardest to get the car back. Basically, it was a really bad series of events that all happened because I was trying to get the car fired back up out of the way, and when I spun, my wheel was like this. So I was trying to remember which direction I had it in, which side was up, which side was down, all of that stuff. So I was all flustered, and then I was like, oh, I see an opening, but the opening was not there. So what happens to Kevin? Oh, he just overcooks it. Oh! Oh! Double tap the front and the rear. Oh. I wonder if he throws it into another wall, not realizing that his rear wing is missing also. There's second place, by the way, right there. Oh wait, no, Broadmeadow was in second. This is so hard to do, by the way. Bring it back around. I mean, I guess it is possible that he just had enough repairs that it wouldn't have been worth it. Wow, why does the car take off there? Oh, I mean, because he has no rear wing, but... Oh, more damage. He might have just called it quits at this point. Yeah. That's unfortunate. It would have been nice to see him come back around. That's disappointing. But it is what it is. And something happened... I also want to see how in the world I got past Venter in that whole situation. Because when he came back on track, I thought it was Kevin coming back on track. I mean, on the bright side, the nicest part about all of this is through all of these mistakes that all of us made towards the end of the race, as far as I can tell so far, nobody took anybody else out. Like, that's the crazy. None of this is contact with other cars. We all just made silly mistakes. There must be another Ferrari that's painted exactly the same as his. Who is this right there? Oh, that's Broadmeadow. Oh, so Broadmeadow and Venter are teammates. Okay, that's what was confusing me. For any plugins in RFactor, make sure you put them. So in your RFactor folder, I want to look so I make sure I give you the right folders. Inside RFactor, there is a bin 32 and a bin 64. The safest thing is to go ahead and put them in both plugin folders, both of those. Now, if you don't have Force 32-bit checked, then it'll only use the 64-bit anyway. But the safest way to do it is just put them in both. Both of those. Which reminds me, I actually need to delete that plugin folder. Well, no, I don't. But that makes so much more sense now. I didn't realize that those two were teammates and had the same livery. So I saw this livery and I was like, how did Venter get behind me? But I guess this is Broadmeadow who was behind me anyway. This is the guy I was getting blue flags from. And again, this whole craziness starts now. So he takes the lead here. I think he ends up winning. I mean, with all of... I love this, by the way. With all of the craziness that... Because all of us were like, the leader just crashed, so Bonar goes wide. I go a little bit wide. Broadmeadow goes wide. Like, everybody's like so shocked that craziness happened that we all go wide in that corner. And see, he sees me spin here, so he's like, oh god. That's awesome. You can hear my car. That's actually awesome. You can hear my car refire as he finishes. Listen. That's awesome to me. Oh, that's so awesome. And then we just had the rest of the race, which was nothing super special. God, that was a heck of a race, though. That was... Whew. That was a crazy race. That was a really, really fun race, though. Man, was it ever. Oh...